On April 3, 2026, an A-10 Warthog was shot down over the desert. The pilot ejected and made it home alive. The aircraft didn't. It was destroyed on the ground during the rescue, so nothing would be left behind for the enemy. 3 days later, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff held a press conference to confirm it. One jet, one loss, national news. That's how much this aircraft still matters. A plane designed in 1972 that the Pentagon has tried to retire 7 times. And every single time, it stayed in the fight. Here's why. The plane built around a gun. In the early 1970s, Fairchild Republic did something no aircraft manufacturer had ever tried. They built the entire airplane around a single weapon. The GAU-8 Avenger cannon came first. The plane came second. Picture this, a cannon stretching 19 feet, 5 inches long. Loaded with ammunition, it weighs 4,029 pounds. That's the weight of a Honda Civic strapped to the nose of a jet. The recoil alone generates around 10,000 pounds of force when it fires. Now here's where it gets crazy. Each of the plane's 2 engines produces 9,065 pounds of thrust. Hear that again. The gun pushes back harder than one of the engines pushes forward. If the cannon fired too long, it could literally slow the plane down in midair. It carries 1,174 rounds of 30mm ammunition. Each round costs roughly $30. And every shell can punch through 76 millimeters of solid steel armor from 500 meters away. The original unit cost around $18.8 million. Compare that to the F-35A, sitting at $82.5 million per airframe today. The A-10 costs less than a quarter of its replacement. Cheap, brutal, built around a cannon the size of a car. But cheap doesn't mean weak. Wait until you see what happens when this thing gets shot. The flying tank. This plane was designed to get shot at and keep flying anyway. When the pilot sits inside something called a titanium bathtub, it's 1,200 pounds of solid titanium armor wrapped around the cockpit. The plating ranges from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches thick. It's rated to stop direct hits from 23mm rounds. That's anti-aircraft fire. Stopped. By a bathtub. Second, the fuel tanks seal themselves when punctured. The flight controls have backups for the backups. Pilots have flown this plane home with 1 engine destroyed, 1/2 a wing missing, and 0 hydraulic pressure. In 2003 in Baghdad, Captain Kim Campbell took heavy anti-aircraft fire. Her hydraulics were gone. Her plane was shredded. She flew 300 miles back to base in manual reversion mode and landed it safely. Then the numbers from Desert Storm in 199. A-10s flew 8,100 combat sorties in just 42 days. They destroyed over 900 Iraqi tanks, around 2,000 military vehicles, and 1,200 artillery pieces. The mission-capable rate hit 95.7% throughout the entire war. Only 7 A-10s were lost across the whole campaign. 7, despite flying the most dangerous low-altitude missions in the war. That's not all. There's another superpower of this plane we need to talk about first. Generally, most of us think air support is about speed, about showing up fast and hitting hard. For special operations, it's the opposite. The A-10 can stay over a battlefield for 1.5 to 2 hours on a full combat load, strap on external fuel tanks, and that loiter time stretches past 6 hours. 6 hours of circling above your guys on the ground. Compare that to the F-35A. The F-35 has a combat radius of around 670 nautical miles, but its actual loiter time over a target with weapons loaded in minutes, sometimes single digits, plus it's matter as much as any other thing. When Special Forces teams get pinned down in a valley, they don't need a stealth jet streaking past at Mach 1.6. That jet is gone before the pilot even sees the target. What they need is a plane that stays, a plane that circles, a plane that the enemy can hear overhead for hours, refusing to leave. The A-10's stall speed is around 120 knots. That's 138 miles per hour, slow enough for the pilot to actually look out the window and see the difference between friendly troops and enemy fighters. A fast mover physically cannot do that. The geometry doesn't allow it. This is why JTACs request the Warthog by name. Speed wins air-to-air fights. Patience wins ground wars. And in the longest war America ever fought, this aircraft proved this the Special Operations Connection. In the last 3 decades, this jet has shown up at every fight America never wanted to talk about. Quiet wars, black site rescues, missions that didn't make the news for weeks. The Warthog has seen all of them. It has flown in combat in Desert Storm, Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and now Iran. In Afghanistan alone, A-10s flew over 32,000 sorties between 2001 and 2014. But the sorties aren't the real story. The real story is what they did on each one. Ground troops trapped, special forces teams surrounded, convoys ambushed at night, and every time the same sound came over the radio. That low, grinding brr-t from above. A single A-10 can carry up to 16,000 pounds of mixed ordnance across 11 hardpoints. AGM-65 Mavericks, 500-pound bombs, 2,000-pound bombs, Sidewinder missiles, and rocket pods. There's a reason JTACs on the ground call its cannon the voice of God. But what most pilots won't tell you is that Warthog doesn't need a runway. It can launch from austere airstrips as short as 4,000 feet. Some unpaved, some carved out of mountain dirt. The F-35, it needs around 8,000 feet of prepared concrete just to get airborne. In April 2026, during Operation Epic Fury against Iran, A-10s flew danger-close gun runs to protect 2 downed F-15E airmen. In a rescue the Joint Chiefs called a close-in gunfight. But there's a deeper reason the Pentagon can't let this jet go. Why the F-35 can't replace it. And it has nothing to do with nostalgia. It has everything to do with math. The kind of math that makes generals very, very nervous. The F-35 is the most expensive weapons program in human history. Over $1.7 trillion in projected lifetime costs. It does everything. Stealth, speed, sensors, 5th-generation dogfighting. Cost per flight hour for the F-35A runs around $33,000 to $44,000. The A-10C has a roughly $22,500 per hour. Over a 2-hour close air support mission, the Warthog saves taxpayers up to $40,000 per sortie. Then there's the gun. The F-35's internal 25mm GAU-22 cannon holds just 182 rounds. It fires for about 3.3 seconds total before going completely dry. The A-10's GAU-8 holds 1,174 rounds, enough for roughly 30 separate gun runs. Stealth doesn't matter when the enemy is 200 meters from your friendlies. Loiter does, accuracy does, sound does. The A-10 stays for 90 minutes, with drop tanks up to 6 hours. That's the gap no stealth fighter has ever closed. It's the reason ground troops keep writing letters to Congress. But even with all of this, the Air Force was still ready to kill the program. The end that almost was. 7 times since the 1990s, the Pentagon has tried to retire the Warthog. The plan was to retire all 162 remaining A-10 Thunderbolt II aircraft by the end of fiscal year 2026, 2 years earlier than scheduled. A clean cut, $57 million to shut the program down. In 2024 alone, 39 Warthogs were already sent to the boneyard in Arizona. The rest were lined up next. And then Iran happened. In March 2026, during Operation Epic Fury, A-10s deployed to the Strait of Hormuz. They struck Iranian naval targets. They ran close air support that no F-35 could match. 3 weeks later, on April 20th, 2026, Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mink announced the A-10 would stay in service through 2030, reversing the entire retirement timeline. The Warthog refused to die. Outrow. So the Warthog story is almost over. But what we miss is that the Air Force has no real replacement for close air support. None. And that means the next war America fights might look very different from the last one. I'll see you in the next one.